My name's Don.
And I'm Peter.
And we are two plebs talking about... California.
This week in the DPRC.
Oh, and how we never fail to disappoint. Now, I know the last time we had a big news event, we canceled these sorts of things for the rest of the week. We'll get back to you on Sunday about bombs.
Right.
So, in the meantime, California, in its infinite wisdom, has decided that it knows, but doesn't know, but maybe knows, how to solve the housing problem.
Yes.
Kinda. But not really.
Maybe, sorta.
But sort of. So somebody ran a poll, it doesn't matter who, and they asked, what are the reasons for the high cost of houses and rent? And the top two answers were lack of rent control and failure to subsidize low-income housing.
Yep.
Now, that may be a shockingly stupid thing to say if you've ever examined California's policy on either of those. But, you know, this is California.
This is California. You're not artificially pushing down the prices for housing that I would like to live into.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right?
Right.
Now, here's how ridiculous this is. California's government has put itself in kind of a pickle. Because we've been running around saying, meh, socialist policies since...
Forever.
Well, the 70s. At least, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've been telling people is that it's all the big, mean, evil corporations' fault, and they did all of the bad stuff, and if only they would stop doing the bad stuff,
right.
Then things would be great. But let's face it, we can't trust them to stop doing the bad stuff, so the government needs to fix it.
Right.
Well... we have come to such a ridiculous point in this housing discussion where even the California state government is going, look, guys, we're stopping people from building houses. And that is constraining supply too hard.
Right.
And demand is going up, not staying the same.
Yeah, demand's going up. People want houses, but only 4% of the state is anywhere near on track for housing growth.
Well, no. So... they planned how many houses people need to build, and 4% of the state is meeting that plan.
Right.
And so they have decided that they need to do any number of things to fix that. Hilariously, not limited to, but including, having the state tell local municipalities, you need to ease building restrictions.
Yes.
Now, this is a shocking turn of events for California, in my opinion, because that would imply that everyone who's told them they're a bunch of idiots forever is correct. And that they know it.
Well, if they're telling the local areas, like, you need to ease up on the housing restrictions so that we can actually get some houses built for people around here, that'd be good. But let's keep this on the hush because we don't want to tell anybody that we're doing anything wrong. Well,
so therein is where the real problem comes in, right? Because... the state has been quietly, or at least the housing and development guys, have been quietly advocating for a while, we just need to build more houses. Come on,
right.
Just build more houses. And now, after years of going, well, the correct option is rent control and subsidized low-income housing. That will solve all of our problems. They're trying to go to the people and go, we also... because, of course, they can't give up on the bullshit line. So it's, we also need to build more houses.
We also need to build more houses. Because if they just forcibly dropped the rents, you know...
everything would be fine.
And then they poured more money into people so they could afford low-income housing.
Right.
We're subsidizing it, meaning paying for it. Houses for them to occupy will magically appear.
Yes. And that's how it works.
Because we know that the problem is not, a problem is rents being too high for some places, but we don't have enough houses to put them in. That's why the rents are so high.
Well, and so this would suggest that people in California understood supply and demand on even the most fundamental, basic, childlike sense. And they simply don't.
No, that's
and this is becoming more evidence the more that we look into this, because again, this poll is like, no, we don't care about this supply and demand issue. That's not a thing, because 9% said that building codes were a problem. Right. 9% of people said that would aid in the issue, is fixing the building code situation. Now, don't get me wrong, if you were to project that across the entire state, that's still 3.8 million people.
Right.
But that's like, well, rural California is what it comes down to.
So 9% of the, 1,108 people surveyed?
Well, so that's not how surveys work, right? Like, so the point here is to project it across California.
Right. But we don't know where this number was surveyed from.
Well,
all over California?
So, presuming that, and I didn't go read the survey, presuming that they followed any of the rules for surveys, you would do it in multiple areas.
Right.
And so, and based on their confidence quote, they don't seem to be, not to get too deep in the weeds of surveys, but anyone who says they've got a 0.5% margin of error is probably lying to you. When they say 3%, they're like, well, this is probably pretty close to what it looks like. Right?
Okay.
And often are not lying to you. Now, if that idea became pervasive, everyone would just say 3%, but it's not. So, carrying on.
Okay.
Anyway, so they have decided that they want to go to the people with this, and the reality is we've propagandized the state too much. So now you've got 10% of people going, can we just
get government out of the way?
Houses?
Get government out of the way. People will be being able to build houses because we don't have enough.
Now, just to be clear, that means 90% of the state doesn't think that's at least the first option.
Right.
Now, what is interesting is that the state is now going, well, we're just going to step in and make you. And like everything else, they want to know what people think of that.
Right. Because
if it's too unpopular, they're not going to be able to do it. And that's in this poll, too.
Uh-huh.
And something like 30% of the state went, that might be a good idea. I mean, the state should step in and help fix the housing crisis. And the whole rest of the state went, you know what? No. Leave this in control of my local municipality, who is causing this problem.
Right. My local guys know what they're doing. Your guys are full of shit.
Right. And so, dear California, we ain't fixing this housing thing.
No.
That rent control thing, that's probably coming.
But it's not going to fix it, because there's still not enough houses to go around.
And so we end up with the usual discussion about, rent control that goes on around here. But in the meantime, dear everyone else in the country, this is what happens when you propagandize your voter base with bullshit socialist ideas. Is eventually you and the mighty planning committee go, maybe we need to not do quite so much socialism. And your crazy wild base goes, but socialism!
Right.
And then it spirals out of control. And Gavin Newsom becomes your governor. And spoiler alert, California, he's your next governor.
Right.
So, enjoy. Or move out, like everybody else.
Right.
So, there's that. I don't know. I'm beginning to really enjoy this, right? Because there's years I've been telling people, like, look, man, we got to stop this. And it's always, no. And 15, 20 years now, I've been making the same general speech. Now the state of California is jumping on board, and the people are going, no.
Yeah.
You have created a monster, California.
Oh, yeah. No, just give us all the Gibbs.
Exactly.
That's it. That's the majority of the answer. No, just give us Gibbs.
Exactly.
That's how you fix it. You just give it to us.
Right. And now, guaranteeably, all of these people, in some way or another in their lives, understand this is wrong. But you've permitted, or enforced this idea that for some reason it doesn't apply in situations like this, right? Because it's always the big corporations.
It doesn't apply because you are in need, so we need to just give it to you.
Well, that's
and
part
we
of it,
can't
right?
just give it to you because the greedy corporations aren't giving us all of their money to make it happen for you.
Exactly, and that's, I think, the whole premise of this, right? So I mean, this is the same thing that Bernie Sanders does and everybody else, right? But California has been doing it in schools for years, right? Like this is the kind of thing that has been being taught here long before Common Core, long before the Federal Board of Education was really doing anything, right? It didn't matter. California was teaching you about how great socialist ideals were. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. And by the way, as an interesting take on that, I consistently say it's the late 60s, early 70s, right? Depends a little on the day of what we're talking about, when California started to go crazy socialist.
Right.
Well, you know what's funny about that time frame? We're coming up on a 70-year mark.
We are.
We're approaching very quickly. And over and over again on this show, we report lots of chickens seem to be coming home to roost from this plan that you made.
About that time ago.
Now, that's a strange coinkydink, in, my opinion, I guess, or maybe the opinions of people who have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, which is to say that socialist countries tend to last about 70 years before they implode.
Right.
And the argument that I have long made for California is they'll make longer than that because the feds will keep subsidizing us, which will permit us to go longer. However, all of the signs that socialist countries are about to implode are available here in California.
They're starting up. And especially when we now have some pushback from the federal government saying, we're not sure we want to subsidize you so much anymore.
Right. And all of a sudden things started going real bad real quick.
Right.
I'm loving it.
Of course you are.
Well, of course I am. Speaking of loving it, and California doing ridiculous things.
Because that's what this show is.
Oh, yeah. So, we're revising pot laws.
Yes. Yes, we are.
And the ridiculous spin, even from the people trying to, that like talk about pot laws all the time and how happy they are that California legalized it, is that all of the restrictions that we are, well, okay, to be fair, we're only making about 2/3 of them more strict, and the others are
being laxed.
ish, right? But somehow or another, this is responsive to the needs of the marijuana growing community.
Obviously.
Because when you say you can't transport pot without a license from the state, if you are in any way tied to profit sharing with the company, right?
Right.
So you can't let them go, look, here's the deal. I'll buy this on credit from you, and for the credit, I'll give you 10% of whatever we sell it for, right? And I think that will be this, and here's why. Can't do that.
No.
So everybody has to pay upfront in cash.
Yep.
Because you still can't have a bank account, right? That is helpful to the industry, according to these people.
Obviously.
Now, that is going to something make it better. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't care about this pot law, I never have, but I do enjoy watching California destroy it.
If you want your business to be delivering pot to people who don't want to leave their house to go out and buy it, you can't make a profit on it.
Pretty much.
You have to effectively do it for free.
No. You would still be able to make a profit, but you would need to engage in the way that basically 3/4 of the businesses that are small work. You would need a license from the state, which they're notoriously not handing out.
Right.
So that's good.
Right. We're not really handing those things out, but you need one.
Right. Now, in the first step of California is going to corporatize the hell out of this, we have this particular provision, right? Because there's simply no way a bunch of small manufacturers will be able to compete for a limited number of licenses. And so what you will have is 1 or 2 companies that get these licenses and are able to deliver basically all the pot in the state.
Yes.
And so what we will do is create a massive corporation, whereas otherwise trucking companies at large would have done. Smooth, California.
Yep.
And by the way, we hate corporations here because something social.
We hate corporations. We want diversity in the marketplace, but we're only going to hand out like 2 or 3 of these licenses, so everybody has to come together as one entity.
Right.
And create a monopoly.
We're very stupid. I mean,
Yes.
The first half of this was that we don't understand economics in Area A. We're now into Area B. Right? But it gets better because of the many things that we thought of, because we're California and think of the children, when we started making this, was that pot needs to be sold in a way that has child-proof locking mechanisms.
Oh,
right?
so no Ziploc baggies.
Right.
Which is customary.
Right. So you need like an actual pill bottle or something like
Right.
that has a child-safe mechanism.
Yes.
Now, ridiculously, seemingly, you can sell it in a bag as long as the bag has a child-safe mechanism, because reasons.
Right. As long as that bag is somehow child safe.
Right. Which, I don't know how that works.
I don't know either.
Right. Hand your toddler a Ziploc, and the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to tear it in half. Right.
Right. And believe me, I have friends who do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to buy a quantity that would fit into a regular pill bottle.
No one does. But a lot of this is aimed at edibles, right?
Right.
So if you went and got candy, that candy needs to come in some sort of child-safe packaging.
Okay.
Which is ridiculous. But carrying on. So we said originally that next year, I want to say, 2019,
Right.
all of the child-safe shit would have to be in place.
Right.
And so the manufacturers of these products went to the state of California and said, look, we really can't do that. I mean, nobody makes them anyway. And so the state went, okay, manufacturers don't need to put child-safe locks on any of their products. Which is a very specific thing, they said.
Right.
The manufacturer doesn't. Now,
But the distributors do.
Oh no, the distributors don't. But your actual point of sale guys are the ones that are caught in this because the actual law says they can't be sold without child-safe devices.
Gotcha. So they just can't make it out to the public without child-safe devices.
Right.
So it will be on each place of point of sale to somehow figure out the problem.
You got it.
Gotcha.
For a year, because all they did was extend the manufacturer line out to 2020.
Right.
So for 1 year, these people need to come up with, out of the ether, some magical ability to put child-safe things on products that are sold on their shelves, and they need to do that before it actually gets sold, but after it's delivered. And manufacturers will just go, I don't know, sounds like a you problem.
Sounds like a you problem. Yeah, you need to repackage it into a child-safe container.
Now, just to be clear here, that means that whoever is working at this pot shop must now be paid to put these in child-safe devices.
Yes.
So expect those prices to go up. Shockingly.
Right, because it's going to be, it's a cost of doing business cost. It's gone up, therefore our prices have gone up.
Right. Now, way back when we legalized pot, I said, you just wait, we're going to regulate this to death and destroy it, and the black market will be the way that this gets done, excluding those in the 6 or 7 figure income here in the state. And boy, are we on the way.
We are.
We can't even do the dumbest, hippiest, most progressive pot-selling thing without screwing it up.
Right. That's California for you.
Because
it's legal, kind of.
Right. Because progressivism, by the way, when the left eats their own, is there a more left idea than legalized pot? I mean, I know all the libertarians are like, yeah, we'll just get the government out. I got it, but that's not who's crusading on this most of the time, right?
Right.
At least between the left and right, because the small government guys on the right tend not to care that much, other than just get the government out of people's lives.
Right.
But this everybody needs to be able to smoke weed thing is a pretty lefty idea. Well, dear left, this is what happens when you let the state bureaucracy get onto your I want to smoke pot. Because there's a few more of these little ridiculous things that they're adding on. It'll be in the article in the description. We're probably not going to have time. But almost none of it is going to be helpful, with the exception of they are trying to figure out a way. They don't even have it done yet, but they're trying to figure out a way to roll back some of the pesticide things that 3 months ago now, we were talking about, well, because of this pesticide thing, was it like
everything
$2 million was just lit on fire?
Yeah, everything has to go by X amount of time tonight.
Yep.
Before new regulations come in and all of the
Right.
stores are no longer sellable.
And look, on and on it goes, right? Every step of the way. This is, we're going to make it legal, but not really.
Right. It's legal-ish.
Exactly.
As long as you pay the tax man,
well,
you might be able to sell it.
What's amazing is I think this might actually be the thing that gets ridiculous pot-smoking hippies to go, man, that regulatory burden thing is real, because their prices are all going to go up over the course of the next 2 years.
Yep.
And probably not a little bit, right?
No.
Specifically, 2019 is going to be a hell of a deal, because instead of having a factory of some kind where you're putting these things together en masse and then going and putting them in child-safe devices and then shipping them, right, where all of this is streamlined, it's going to be, well, this is a child-safe device and, I don't know, you put it in there. Right. Now, turns out, no matter how fast that person is, that's pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Pretty much.
Here we go. The prices will go up. The taxes will, invariably go up over the next couple of years because, well, this was supposed to make us infinity $billion, and some reason it didn't, even though we've made them lose millions upon millions of dollars by creating these stupid regulations. But we don't know why this didn't work out the way we said.
Yeah, we have no idea why this didn't work. They should have been able to pocket all of the inflation of costs that we put on them after we said they could do it.
And that's the end of our show for the day.
That's right. It's taco time.
However, before we go, we'd appreciate it if you shared us around.
You can find us on YouTube,
BitChute,
Facebook,
Twitter,
Patreon,
and Maker Support.
Thanks for stopping by.